In this video, I'm going to talk about how you would be able to create test suites. When you write test, there may be some instances that you want to make your test independent on its own, because when you have your applications entire feature should not be covered under one single test. For example, if you have any applications that is going to create a brand new registration of a new customer, so it is going to fill up all of the customer informations, and when you submit the button, it is going to give you some form of confirmations, and that is part of one end-to-end test for performing the new registrations. Or there may be some instances that you might want to validate the customer's account informations, or there may be instances that you are performing some different activities into that customer's account and you wanted to make those changes are reflecting. Or there may be instances, for example, you are working on some banking applications, then you might want to just check that you're able to add a payee in order to pay the bill, or all of those activities, depending on to the application that you're working to. There may be chances that you might want to keep all of this different test on its own. So when this happens, then what happens is your every test continues to be independent, then it will be harder to maintain. Otherwise you would have to go individual all of this single test and you'd have to run them one by one, so which means it will be really hard to maintain, and it will be harder. There may be more chances that you might miss this test from running, or there may be a situation that you want to run them as a whole and look at the report as a glance. For all different purposes, you want to basically collect this all test and run as a one single unit. So that collecting section is basically considered to be a suite. So just like you have a test class, it will be test suite. Test suite is basically the combination of all different tests. So when you write the automation, you are in Selenium, you are basically focusing into one or the other. One is JUnit or another is TestNg. Either one of these application has the different approaches of creating test suites. We're going to discuss about that today. First of all, I'm going to show you how you'll be able to generate the test suites in JUnit. Okay, so this is the JUnit. I already have this test. We're not gonna go more details about what this test is included. We will just run the test and show you what are the benefits of having these as a whole test. Okay, so if you come here to my left section, these are the test package. So these other are the page files. So I'm going to minimize the page files, and this is the utils. So when you come to the test, I have two different tests for you to demo today. One is the new registration test. So this is also the same JUnit test. So the purpose of this test is basically going into the home page, navigate to the register, and then once you get into register, fill in that form. That form basically has the steps that will fill up the customer's registration page. If you want to just quick look on that, this method is basically doing all these activities, and then it ends. Okay, so let's close that. So this is one test I want to comprise with, and I have another test. So you can add as many tests you want to put it inside the suites. Okay, let's go through that. Let me create one new package. So I'm going to name that as a suites. So I'm going to name that as com.my.test suites. Okay, so I'm just going to put that inside the suite. Inside the suite, I'm going to, this is the JUnit test, so I'm going to write the JUnit here class. Okay, so this is the JUnit class. So I'm going to write this as, let's say I want to keep that as a regression, because I may want to run this test overnight, or there may be more tests that I'm going to include in this test. Okay, so regression regression test suite. Okay, so that is the name of my the test suite. So here, if you see, look at this carefully, what you need to do here is only few things that you need to write. First of all, you create this class, this test suite, just like you create a class, nothing different with that. And this is considered to be empty, so nothing here, empty body. Okay, nothing here you write in any class section. This is basically just to collect this as the test suites. So what you need to write here is two annotations. One is run with W capital, and this will be suite.class. This is basically predefined thing, so you would just write as is. There's nothing customizing. You are not customizing this. This is how the JUnit wants that suites to be. And next annotation you would need is suite classes. Okay, so suite classes, and inside this, what you do here is you create that little parenthesis, and then you write all of these classes names. So in my case, I have this add to cart test, which is this cart test, and I have a registration test. So what I do, I simply copy that class name, add dot class. Okay, and then comma. So you can continue to add those comma lines and comma separator, and then add a class as many as you want. Another class is new. Okay, after that, what you do, you just simply leave that alone, so there's no semicolon or anything needed. And then what you do, you simply import the whole thing. So I imported two tests from here. So if you see here in the class section, I have this as an empty body. You don't need anything in the class section. Okay, and here in this, it is running these classes as a suite, and it is asking that this suite comprises of these combinations of these classes. So it will run line number 11, the first test. As soon as this is done, it will move on to line number 12, and then you may add as many tests. All you do is just continue to add this comma line separator like that, you know, all that like that. I don't want to run this twice, so I'm removing that. So that's how you would add in the JUnit. So only you need to remember is this basically these 5 lines of codes. That's all you need. Okay, so that's all we need for the JUnit. Let me run this, and next thing what you want to make sure is, because you are running this as a JUnit, you need to make sure the class that inside has a @test, otherwise it will fail. And this has to be JUnit test. This cannot be TestNg when you have a JUnit. Okay, that's the only thing you need to remember. And then let's run this out the way you would run, just like it is, nothing different. Okay, let's run that test. Test is starting. Okay, it is maximizing the window. Okay, to hover the mouse, and then it navigated to desktop. So the first test looks like it is done, and then I have another test which is doing this thing. Okay, okay, so I don't want to confirm this password and register. I don't want to make the actual registration, so I just left that alone. If you come back to the test, let's see what this is doing. If you see, the test is completed here, and that's how you would run. So when you run this, it will show each of this individual class. If you go inside this class, it will show you what method, test method did ran. Okay, that's how you would consolidate the test suites into the JUnit. Okay, that's one side. Let's close this thing first. Now same thing when you need to apply, if you were to do with the TestNg, this is how you would do in TestNg. So this is how the JUnit suites. On the TestNg, what you do, let's minimize this import so you see this whole thing clear. So this is the only your code, okay, for JUnit, only these lines, and followed by the class name. Let's do the TestNg. So for TestNg, go to the project, new, other, okay. Here do this new file, okay. Name this file as a TestNg.xml, okay. You need to get that TestNg.xml. So make that file. This is obviously going to be empty, so let's write this file now, okay. So first thing is, when you write the XML, you have to get this doc type. So definition, so it is doctype, case sensitive, system http testng org/testng-1.0.dtd. So these are basically just the definition of that first line. It's called doc type. So once you write this, you have only thing is you have just XML things. So this is TestNg writes switch onto the XML format. So you need to really understand this. This is mostly asked questions in the interviews also, so just look at this carefully. It is very simple. So first thing, you need to define your suite, okay. So suite equals, let's write this as a regression test, okay. And you can define as parallel if it's there's a parallel testing is equal to, for now I don't, so I'll just write false. That's one thing you need to define. And next thing is, see, automatically it closes the suite. So inside this suite you have to define the whole thing, okay. So next thing what you need to do is test. These are case sensitive, okay. So test, let's say test first, or what do we need to write? So test registration test, that is just the name again, so it can be anything, okay. So once you do that, just close that, and then now you do inside that test, you need to put the classes, okay, classes, and inside the classes you write the class name equals, you have to write with the entire package. So com.my. What do you write that as a registration test is new registration test dot, basically you don't need to write that at all, but instead you need to write that as a package. So dot integration, then you do the class name, okay. Once you do that, just close that class here, and that's all you do here. So here if you see, this is the package name dot class. So if you come here, this is the package name. Inside the package name, this is the class you called. So same thing, do that for the another class, okay. So copy that whole thing. Instead of that, you write add to cart test, okay. So add to cart test. So that is the another test. So if I need to add more suites inside that, you would continue to write this, okay. So that's the only one thing you need to do. And next thing, you need to make sure when you come inside this class, wherever that class is, you need to make sure this is not the JUnit, this is a TestNg. To do that, let's comment this guy out, and let's import that through TestNg annotations, okay. Same thing applies to this add to cart. So instead of TestNg JUnit, I'll do that as a TestNg annotation. So if you see here, this is now TestNg suites. Okay, so now once you do that all you do is just run the test. Okay, now let's run. So to run this, just come to this XML file, just to right click, run as TestNg suites. It will show you as a suite. So let's run this out. Obviously we'll have to save this. So right now in this suite we're running we saved that regression suites, that's fine. So let's run this. Okay, this is not nice. So let's see the error. Two tests in the same suite cannot have a same name. Let's go to that error and let's see our suites. What are we defining there? Okay, oh, here, so I have a suite's name here, and I have a test name here, and also I have all duplicates, so we don't want to put this as a duplicate. So this one is registration test, okay, and this one is registration test. This is another registration test. This is the add to cart. This does not need to be whatever the name is. This is just I am defining that as a separate name. So this test cannot be duplicate, this test name cannot be duplicate. That's what the error was for, and this is my regression test suites. All I'm writing is regression test suites. Okay, so let's run this test again. We should be good here. Right click, run as TestNg suites. That's that. So if you see here, that's the test. It ran 2 tests, nothing failed and nothing skipped. And if you see here, both of these passed. So if you see, these are the tests that ran inside this class, and that is part of this regression test suite. So whatever you define inside that XML is coming here. Okay, this is the test name that you give, and then inside this test name it has all of this class name, and you can go below, it will show you what test it actually ran. Okay, this is how you would be able to run the test as a suite, so that you can cover all of the different tests into one single entity. Today we discussed about both of the approaches where you could apply test suites, running multiple tests into one suite using JUnit or the TestNg. Thank you very much for watching this video, and hope this has been helpful for you. And please continue to watch my video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.